Hey, it's Darren with Arbitrage Trade, and this is Deep Dive with Daniel, with, of course, Daniel Hopwood, who's still over the seas. We never know when he will come back. And his blog this week was Cracks in the U.S. Economy. Is the Slowdown Inevitable? Nice and succinct and short title. Good job, Daniel.
And timely.
That's and timely, yes, because it is boy, today we had what NASDAQ down. And by the way, this is being filmed or recorded, as you could say, on what is today? Tuesday, right? The day after
Yep.
Labor Day. So it was pretty bloody today. NASDAQ was down 3.26, Dow Jones down 1.5, and the S&P down 2.1. So it could be basically following some of these things that you put into your blog this week. And maybe those are some of the reasons. Or maybe it's something that's hidden that we don't see. That's hidden deep into the depths of the Fred reports, which anybody can go into and look at. All right, so I'm going to kind of call this borrowed money on borrowed time. I think is kind of what I got from what you wrote, which is good. Kind of talk to us about what credit cards are doing, maybe what the interest rates on those credit cards are doing, and just kind of and throw in maybe the buy now pay later thing that a firm is getting all this raise in their stock price and everything, and is it just all setting up for a disaster that may have started today?
Yeah, so the short of it is that, when you I think we might have talked about this on the After the Bell of last
Hmm.
week, but
Yeah, of course.
that, even though consumer spending is still, strong and consumer confidence is there, credit card debt has surpassed $1 trillion in the US, of all the consumers put together, which is at an all-time high.
Yep.
That typically indicates that, you know, sure, consumers are confident, but they're really just, borrowing the money into the future because they don't have it right now. So, with that, with high interest rates on credit cards, the average, the blog post we wrote said the average interest rate is like 20% on a credit card. I don't know about you, Darren. I have pretty good credit. All of mine are way higher than 20%. Luckily I pay my bills in full every month, but they're like more like close to 30,
Yes. Yes. Mine too.
which
Mine too.
is insane. Like,
And I
especially
think
if you're
though
not paying it off.
I got a quote low one. It's like they're getting more desperate because I think I did just get one that was around 26. So it's like it's not my credit card or credit getting better. It's because I think the banks are getting more desperate to have basically credit extended because that's what we need for our economy. We are a credit economy, and it'll be interesting to see how they handle all this. That's for sure.
Mhm.
Um, so I think some of this could be. It's just my own thought. I'm not an economist and I'm not a financial advisor, as we all know, but it's keeping up with the Joneses too, I think, because you see these upper middle. I think this is why the upper middle class and maybe even the middle class is really struggling with credit cards. Don't know, just have a guess because they were used to living a lifestyle that was awesome, the Lego song. And as it got tougher and tougher and payments became due, etc., and the interest rates went up and their mortgages, maybe they took out an arm loan. Sure hope they didn't. But I think to keep up with the quote neighborhood and people around them, keeping up with the Joneses, they may have had to go to the credit cards just to kind of hide that that they are not struggling with their finances. That's just one of the things, and then I think it's become really bad for I'll just say the 80%. That the 20% it's an inconvenience is what I like to say, but for the 80%, it's really getting tough. And it could be 90-10 at this point. I don't know. I don't know what the division would be, but I do feel like the elites are just kind of minorly inconvenienced and or actually profiting even more so, and that the 80% or even 90% of us are really struggling. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think you kind of see, like, I think it happened like during COVID too, like, the stock market went crazy. I forget what the exact numbers are, but it's like the top 1% own like so much percentage, which is like a very large percentage of the stock market.
Mhm.
And so, they really profit the most from all this growth we've seen. And I think if you look at, the individual person, like you or me, or, I think I speak for my friends in the US, things just seem really expensive. And like, you know, everyone, for the most part right now still has a job, but everyone's kind of like, yeah, like I'm kind of saving money because I'm not, no one's too confident in what is about to happen. And,
Right.
surprisingly, even in election year, it's not even a political thing. People are just kind of like, yeah, just doesn't feel good. Things are like expensive enough that it kind of hurts. If you lost your job, I don't think it'd be too easy to find one right now. So I think if you were to actually poll consumer confidence, it'd be pretty low. And I think a lot of people just feel like there is some kind of recession to come about.
Yeah, I like the way you say you actually poll because as we've discussed before, I feel that polls and surveys are you go to the bubble that you want to get information from that you know that you'll get the information you need for your narrative, and it may not be necessarily the correct narrative of how is the US experiencing this rather than the 1,000 people that we may have surveyed and we may have targeted to get the right results that we need out of that survey. So
Well, my
um,
thing with polls is like, who answers them? Who are these people?
exactly, exactly, exactly. Yeah, yeah, and maybe they're getting paid to do so. Well, who knows? Um, I know I don't answer them. If I get a call or a text or anything like that about, "Can you answer a few questions?" It's, "Nope, I've got things to do. I
Yeah.
gotta go make money to afford anything." So you talked about auto loans and mortgages being especially an issue. Do you wanna jump into that a little bit?
Yeah, just with interest rates becoming so high, during COVID, if
Mhm,
you're lucky, you could get a mortgage at a 2% rate. Really, average person is probably getting somewhere closer to three,
mhm,
but now they're at 6 to 7%, sometimes even higher, right? So that's a 3 to 4 times increasing of your interest payment on your home, which drastically increases the price, right? So people have to spend more on their home, especially if they didn't get a fixed rate mortgage, they got an adjustable
mhm,
rate one.
mhm.
Car loans we reported are now stretching over 6 years, right? So they're taking longer for people to pay off with record high car prices. So
Exactly.
these payments that are monthly occurring and go for years on end are really starting to eat into people's budget. And from where they were to where they are now, it might become a bigger portion of what their actual spend is. Which results in there's been a you know strong consumer confidence in like what we'll call the lower end of Walmart and like the dollar store, right? But I think we're probably in agreement, Darren, that that's probably people that were shopping at I don't know, Target, Whole Foods, call it whatever
Yes.
you want, something that's not high end but like a little higher end,
Right,
and now they're
right.
coming down, and not only are they coming down, they're putting it on their credit card.
And
Right?
that's
And
what
then
I
those
was
people
saying
that
about
were
yeah.
there are definitely putting it on their credit card.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's why I was saying that really I think it's starting to affect the middle class up to upper middle class, whereas before it may not have as much. And they kept trying to say that the narrative was that the money that they got from the pandemic, that they still had that in their savings. And I don't know if I agree with that either, that they actually did, because I know I didn't have a whole lot of extra, even with the money that we barely got from the COVID payments from the government. I mean, it was what, $2,400, $3,600 total. It's like that's really not a whole lot when you look at your whole year of your budget. And I think some of it also, I think that where the real savings was is people weren't taking vacations, people weren't doing stuff because they were kind of held in their household. And they didn't go out and spend it. They didn't go out to restaurants and spend money at that. So maybe that's where they got savings. But jobs are being lost at the same time. So, I just don't know. I don't know if I ever agree with that whole, pandemic savings number they keep throwing out there. Sure, I think it did actually give extra money to, again, the top 20%. but I don't think it did with most of the country in general. But that's just an opinion. Um, so we have this is a big week. So the day that this is released, then the unemployment number is out there, and that's another issue right now. It's another telltale sign of possible recession. And recession is the big word here. That's what nobody wants
The
to
R
say it. It's
word.
like, don't say Fight Club, and I mean, it's just how dare you say that word? But again, reporting is are the reports even real? Are correct? What is our GDP really? What is our interest rate? Is it really? Did it not go over 9.2%? Where do we sit now? Did we actually go up to like 15%? And it just isn't being reported that way. I just don't know, but I just know a lot of people are struggling. You did talk about the Walmart. Yeah, yeah, we talked about the trade down. I do agree with that. Um, but seriously, folks, if you wanna see what's really going on, you can't rely on the mainstream media. You have to dig yourself. You have to go into the Fred reports, FRED. Those are federal reports, and as long as they aren't messing with those, which I hope they're not, you can go back and look at a history of past times when we had recession, and you will see that a lot of those charts are actually worse than it was back in the '20s, and then again, not too long ago, in the 2000s, like 2000, 2008, those 2 times, and then just recently, with the pandemic. So, just do your own research. Listen to us a little bit, but even if you agree with something we're saying, just go do your own research. That's what America really needs to get into the habit of doing is doing their own research and not just being fed it all the time. Um, Gas is coming down like it did today, big time. It's pushing 60s, I think now, as of today. I
Mm.
don't know if you know that because you're just waking up over there. So that should help. Um, so we
Wait,
might see
I
America.
would I would ask though, even with gas prices coming down, have you seen a reflection of that actually at the pump?
No, it's being
Because I
hidden
remember when I
no matter
was,
which way it goes.
still in
Uh-oh, just lost your audio. We shall wait.
Hello, hello.
And he's back. Of course, he's got his old microphone. His new one will kick in here in a minute. I think it's the folks over there. They're trying to not we shouldn't be saying all these things because they like to like just
hello.
like
Okay,
Elon Musk. Okay,
sorry
he's back.
about
Yeah.
the
We've been sabotaged once again. All right, go ahead. Whatever you're talking
they
about.
tried, but they can't.
That's right.
Um,
We
I
overcame.
was just saying that there was a point when I was still living in California that, gas prices had come down, but they were almost at all-time highs at the actual pump, right?
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
so, I don't maybe it does come down actually, but I feel like within the last 2 years, I haven't there's been a disconnect between, the market price, we'll call it, and the actual pump price.
Well, here's the disconnect too. I don't think people understand this, but or some do. I'm not going to be that way. I'm the dumb ape. But there's lag time. There's lag time between when
Mhm.
something happens and when it actually takes effect. So this coming down, let's say it does for a month, and then it goes right back up to the 80s or whatever it might do. That's not going to do anything. Um, Only doing a 25.25 rate cut in the next meeting is not going to do much. Even point 0.5 won't. It'll do a lot as far as the initial reaction of the market, but in general to the overall economy, it's going to take a while for any of that to matter. I mean, for mortgage rates to come down, that's going to take a little while. I mean, it's not like we're going to jump from the sevens to the fives by only going down 0.25 and point 0.5. Even if we do all six, it's just going to take a while. And that's why you keep hearing, let's just get, now I'm hearing it today on CNBC. They're finally actually being realists and talking about, or maybe it's just this was the plan. They knew that this was the plan is they're going to start selling off here in September, but how volatile it's going to be. And that it may take to mid 2025 for us to start seeing a rebound. We haven't even gone down yet. And they're talking about a rebound. So I don't know. It's like, let's just see.
That
I
is
think
kinda funny.
it is funny. So let's just wait and see what happens with the elections. I think that's the one thing they can't narrate per se. is an election. So,
It would
and
if
what
they
might
could.
happen. Yeah, and they may be, but I just don't see it right now. There's too many variables. So anything else? I mean, it looks like again, I'm going to stick with my guns. I know you guys have said I'm always a perma bear. I just think it's the cycle has been stretched way past where it should have been, and that I would have been right if it would have been a normal happening. So it's just gonna happen eventually. So I'm like everybody else in the stock market. I just say this and it'll eventually happen, so I'll be right eventually.
That is true, that is true.
That's right.
Yeah, I don't know, it's one of those things where maybe the time is now, and it's fun. I think it would be ironic and fitting that if the time was now when the Fed has been like, "Hey, we stuck the soft landing," and then it's like the market's like, "Psych, no, you didn't."
They're so ready to say that, and like I
Right?
said, I think last week, they're trying to say it's still transitionary or transitory, sorry, is the word, and, okay.
Yeah, they're right, it is transitory, it has moved with us for 4 years.
That's it. It's a 4-year transitory period. They're gonna change the definition of that too while they're at
Yeah,
it.
right.
All
Hit
right, I
up hit
appreciate
hit
you,
up Webster.
yeah, exactly. Well, they do keep updating that, don't they? Um, appreciate I mean, this is definitely what happened today. It's kind of funny. It actually started happening today. Slow down inevitable. Well, let's see if this is day one of the inevitable. I personally think it's going to go back up and back down. It's just going to be a volatile month. And while all the narratives play out that they have scripted. All right. Anything
Probably
else,
quite
Daniel?
volatile going into
Yeah.
the election and depending on the
2 months.
numbers that get
Yep.
reported and revised.
Yep. 2 months. 2 months. All right, Daniel. Appreciate it. I will see you again next week.
Catch you later, Dan.
Thanks. Bye.